in July of 2000, New York Magazine had their lead article, a cover article was called "The $2,000 an Hour Woman." It was an article about this woman who was theoretically the highest paid hooker in the history of New York City. You know, former Governor Spitzer proved that article wrong. It turns out $2,000 an hour, not so much. But still, in the article, this woman, Natalia, was talking about her pimp, Jason, and she said this. She said, "Jason would be saying, 'Natalia is the greatest escort in the history of the world, as good as Cleopatra or Joan of Arc.' And I'd be like, 'Jason, Joan of Arc was not an escort. She was a religious martyr.'" So I read the article, and like any good stealing poet, I thought, all right, I should write a poem. So I wrote this poem, which is Joan of Arc to the $2,000 an hour woman. At least your pimp has a name, a neck you could put your 2 good hands around. He loves you, like all men love what they sell, what comes back in gold. Make no mistake, my God was a man. Men with their mouths at the entrance to the cave, whispering, men dripping hallucinogens into the milk, men insisting, lead us, have this horse, this sword, this sentence, this pyre, men naked under their robes, their armor, their teeth bartering my skin for their country, a cause I would have sworn was mine. Cleo and I place bets on women like you. From this distance, your dance looks like ours, and Vashti's, and Salome's, and Helen's, and you're acquainted with the Magdalene, our mythical knees locked or spread, bringing men to theirs and us to the gallows, the tower, the stake. Trade your corset for a habit, and they'll hate you all the same. Whatever cannot be possessed is poison. The body is never bought, but rented, which is why he wants your heart, bound like feet, dancing only for him. Let me tell you something about possession. Never let a man dictate your wingspan or your footwear. There's a God on every corner, and not one would have you mortgage your given body for this man and his fur-lined tongue. Don't think I don't know about love. More goes unreported in history than in myth. Sell your story, Natalia, before they scrape it from under your fingernails as evidence. Cut your hair. Buy a building in Brooklyn. Lay down on a bed of teeth alone. Peel back their fingerprints one by one, each incision the hot face of a god, unfolding. Just really quickly.
When Tom booked us for this performance, it was in the summer, and Marty said, "Oh, we have no excuse not to write a group piece." So last week, we got together and came up with this.
Yes.
The silence in the photograph belongs to my mother.
The silence in the photograph dangles between the man and the woman.
The silence in the photograph did not exist in the moment it was taken.
The television remote squeezed like a victory ribbon in her fist. Between her and my father, I am stiffly composed and rattling off mundanities to fill the spaces.
A fish waiting to be gutted, my letter of a body still atoms, and nothing more between them.
There's so much you never see, even in a photograph. My parents are dancing and they are laughing, blind, with squinched eyes, mouths open, and arms around each other.
In the photograph, she is turned to the left.
Mouth ajar, leaning. He is turned to the right. He is bearded and pleased.
I sit between them for the only photos that exist of us three. Even for the flash, my mother refuses to relinquish the remote.
They are howling with a kind of laughter which, caught at a different time, might look like pain, or loss, or grief.
The silence between them fills with organ music, with a war that has taken a bouquet of their friends already.
Show them the photo. Ask them what they were laughing at when the shutter was snapped, and of course, they will say nothing.
Her silence, a battleground among us, my brain fills with panic.
But only because they're both gone now. Snapped by a bigger shutter, Cancer's camera captures so much detail.
She wears daisies in her veil. He is a conscientious objector in a taut black suit. It is 1969, and they've not talked about babies.
Tonight, my mother is too tired to pick up again the charade she decided was done when I was 12. And my father, still too cavalier in tone, inspires in my mother only fight and defensiveness.
And it's the little things that count. His hands clasped at the small of her back, hers around his neck. I love them still, as I love them still forever, wherever they are.
Tonight it is our clothes
in the
that
great
are loudest.
Dance of the human life.
My yellow long sleeve shirt, my mother's orange blouse.
It will be 30 years before
My
that
father's
fish
dashiki.
is split open to the air. The summer he admits to never wanting daughters. The summer she gives back the ring and they start speaking in psychological terms.
The greatest gift my father ever gave me was the love he had for my mother. Who knew that a happy childhood would be so rare and beautiful?
If I look close enough to what is not being said amongst us, I can almost see my lips move.
What the fish birthed was a raucous girl.
Calling down blessings on my mother, myself, and the chance that brings us three together.
Silence can mean I love you, I remember you. Do you resent
A
me?
vagabond
I
daughter
hate you.
with dictionaries
I
for
don't wanna talk
arms
about it.
and a
I
bullhorn
need
of
you.
a throat,
I need
a
you to
neon
listen to
sign
me.
of want,
I do
a
not
terror
agree.
of protective
I miss
quiet,
you.
even in a photograph.
There's so much you never see,
Even
even in a photograph.
A trinity that screams louder than anything we can offer as him.
Thank you for indulging our little super experiment with that. We were going to try to memorize it, and then we realized that we're old and don't memorize things so quickly anymore. Yeah. I'm going to do, the poem that I did first was from a series that I had done, that I'm sort of still working on, that's in the Voices of Martyrs, speaking to people who are alive today. The other series I'm working on, I do stuff in series because I'm lazy and I don't like coming up with new ideas all the time. And so the other series is it's a series using the tarot deck to tell a bunch of different kinds of stories, particularly pertaining to sexuality and alternative lifestyles, which is like my least favorite term in the world. This is The Magician is a Drag King. There's a mouthful of man where my cunt used to be. Note how I lean against this pole like I've got the right chromosomes for this game, like I was born with this name. I guess you could call it a compulsion, but tell me you don't code switch from morning bed to subway wait to secretary to bar stool to bed again. The stretch from femme to butch to boy to man's the feathered edge of a scalpel, so close the sweat even smells the same. And here I am, your rock god andromorph. You want more than the cock in my pants, and that's good. That's what everybody's looking for. A little freak in your Friday, a shapeshifter lover, so you've got every excuse to call the wrong name, the wrong body, to want what boils low in the belly where the good words won't go, but the letters tap themselves together like lace under old ladies' fingers into and oh, and the 1,000 practiced hesitations. I like to let a little nipple show to flash the twat behind the dildo. I'm that snap between nod and wake on the train when your cheekbone hits the stranger's shoulder. The what? Damn, the where am I? Transgression's the infant I give birth to every time the stage lights go up. You're a sucker for the sideshow, and I'm your spirit gum queen. Your strapped-down goddess, your husband with a little extra in between. I'm Venus with a goatee I markered on myself. No Hottentot can shame this. You can't mock this. I made it. My playlist is gay bliss. Go on, DJ, break it down. Everybody wants somebody. Everybody wants somebody. Everybody wants somebody. A girl's gotta use every tool she's got and beg Barter or steal the rest. Come on. You know you want to be transformed. You know you want to be a star. Stick whatever you want in those slacks. Bind, pack, beard if you want. It's the saunter that matters. How you carry what you've got. The snake around your waist is incapable of lying. Satan at the strip joint. Ouroboros at the cabaret. Unravel what makes a man a man. Name one thing I can't buy at the 5 and dime or the costume shop. When I take these streets as me, or the dude I now know I can be, the sidewalk's clear. This swagger is a 21st century alchemy. Say you know me. Tell me now, who's the man? Woo! This is 5 of Swords for all my death girls. There's a trick to disintegrating in increments subtle enough not to trip the alarm wires, and my girls had it down. How to go and go until the night is too fragile or grimy, and then the fanfare, the wild dive from the spire, the water tower, the clock yanking its hands back, all my pretty ones in love with the beast of disappearing, their calla lily fists releasing everywhere that unwashable scent. You should have seen them. They were beautiful in their despair, all edgeless like a cloud, all on the cusp of becoming nothing but light, and how they needed me. My simple body became bread in their mouths. I was whiskey, an obliteration who'd get up in the morning to make coffee and call the hospital. 1999. We lay on the futon in my parents' basement, searching the phone book for institutions that would take her without insurance. The phone's sober electronics between us, we curled our bodies into still commas of want to wait for morning. They took her shoelaces and her cigarettes, and I watched. They gave her forms and more forms, and I watched. They walked her to the room with its single bed and single dresser and unsmashable mirror, and I rode the long, high buzz of the door back to New York. There are many ways to give birth. Not one is without pain. There are almost as many ways to die as there are to love. Tonight, I drink to the ones who chose to keep going, who moved through my body like a chemical I could not keep. The night stands outside like a hungry dog on an old chain, the scent of lilies rising from the half-moons of his teeth. My girls tuck their babies into bed and lovers' hair behind their soft ears. There is nothing to fear. The phone does not ring. We're all saved. This is a poem out of the Martyr series. Anna Politkovskaya, for those of you who don't know, is a Russian journalist, American-born Russian journalist who was assassinated, most likely by Putin's people, if not personally by him. This is Anna Politkovskaya to Katie Couric. Kate, America's God-fearing heart sleeps in your night garden, nested among the stones. There's a cancer in the planet none of your televised tests can detect. You're a Jew. You know refuge and its failings, how your boys and your bodies are never safe in a country that doesn't love an unprofitable peace. I believed the truth would keep back the dark, keep back Putin and his farmers of war long enough for Russia, for Chechnya, for America to remember that we are mothers first. I was wrong. 4 shots wrong. The chest, the shoulder, the head. Do you know who haunts me, Kate? Even in this long sleep. And Anna at Nordost, who took that theater with explosives roped to her waist. Nothing of terrorism, nothing of suicide bombing exists in the Chechen tradition but this woman who watched her babies slaughtered and raped, her husband forced to watch and then slain, tied grenades to her waist and said, "It makes no difference where we die, so we will die here, in Moscow. We will choose our fate." Do you say, Mother Country? Does she bring you seeds in your sleep? 48 years I gave her, and my son, and my daughter, I loved them, and Russia. But everywhere I walked, the dirt ran with blood, and the rocks watched like men. Don't you see it? Doesn't it stain your good shoes, your sleep? How do you not call out Chechnya each night, or Darfur, or even Cabrini Green? Are the studio lights so blinding, Katie? Where are your feet? How are you not in the street with the bleeding and the reek? Do you think you're quiet? Your cute will save you, Katie. Your neat, hard-hitting interviews and long legs. A cutaway desk, billboards, and accolades from the boys with all the strings. I was loved, and I was killed. Maybe I should have been on TV, taken one of our 3 stations with grenades at my waist and force-planted what I knew. What do your high-profile and signature grin buy for your government, Katie, when they draft your daughter Eleanor in 3 years to stop the civil war they began? Where will you stand? They poisoned me on my way to save first graders at Beslin. They gassed civilians to stop my negotiations at Nordost. The bellies of men who would eat our young are bottomless and ravening. I have given them my bones, Katie, and still their hunger grows. For Ilya, for Caroline, for Vera, for Eleanor. Leave the garden, Catherine. Quit watering the stones. I have taken the blueprint of your back for granted, as if the sidewalk were not an altar and the sound of the shower not a hurricane bearing down. There's no ceremony for this.
The sting is still in my palm where yesterday I slapped the piss out of the man who thought it okay to grab my arm. The sting still sounds like gunshot. Today I ride in the L train. Ask the woman politely if I might have some room to sit. She glares. Make me a bullet of a mouth. Not a bullet, a gun.
Not a gun, a harbor. To hold you against the night with its sirens and batons. I fly down the block to you and the lights in harm's way. All 16 muscles of my tongue pulled. Meat for the men who don't love you.
When the man returns, pale white face swollen red with my palm print to say he is pressing charges, I know what must be done. What happens when white men make allegations? There's no ceremony for this. I hustle out the back way hustle. Take the low, stay low on the road. Walk in the shadows low, long way around the next block.
My love, ink is fool's armor. Your good luck works on no one in uniform.
If it is true that bone is harder than steel,
make me a building, a garden of mineral and calcium in bloom, deadbolt of a spine.
Today, I'm trying to find ways to explain to my students the difference between the personal and the political in a narrative work.
Each time the cry of fight goes up on the streets, I remember your hand, the man rocking back on his heels, his mouth a sidelong oval, shocked into quiet at last.
My last fight 2 years ago, I punched a cab driver, a black man, an African, for refusing to take us to Brooklyn. After the fight, I cried hysterically.
Love, lay your burden down here.
Tell me how to make this body a safe house and not a prison.
I'll
hold my hand when every lifting is an act of self-defense. When I was 9, the only black child in Winnipeg's Greenwood Elementary, I fought 8 times in 2 weeks. Nigger from Sean, nigger from Jeff, nigger from Doug, from Debbie. There's no ceremony for this. Today, the woman on the train snarls, clutches her purse, changes seats. I think I've been reading poetry. I teach children. I can identify Mozart and Monk. I've read James Joyce. I should be safe. Tell me how
to take your hand, how take the knife and not call it murder or surrender. The cab driver, the cop, the woman on the L train conspire.
You are already a weapon.
I am no building,
no shield,
less than cotton between the
violent night and their skins. How to come back from lynch mob, from no count of Brooklyn, from Rosewood, from nigger, from nigger, from nigger, from 3/5, from chuckle. I am no weapon,
less than teeth ground down to bone dust, small, white as I am.
But I'm on the L train riding with Rosa Parks. I want to drag a blade slow across a white woman.